Hey guys, welcome to our newest episode of Thought Engine Labs podcast. Today we have Anwesha with us. She's from the pharma and medical industry. I know every single one of us has taken medicine, some sort of painkiller or injections, but do we actually know how those pills and medicines got made, tested, or approved? So that's what we're going to find out today by asking Anwesha some relatable questions. And we're going to pull back the curtains behind the pharma industry and learn more about how she works and basically what's happening around her area of expertise. Right,
Yeah.
Yogesh?
Yes, yes. Also, she runs her own consultancy firm, which is called Anwesha Life Sciences. So yeah, shout out to that. And yeah.
Anwesha, how did it feel being on our podcast? Did you ever think you would be here after all that you've done?
Lord, so honored to be finally called out on your podcast. I've been a bit, how do you say, regular watcher of your live podcast, and I've been following you guys. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. Anwesha, would you like to talk about what exactly you do from the ground up? And please consider that you're talking to a bunch of 5-year-olds because we have no idea how things work there. Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Over to you.
Sure. So just to first let you guys know that I'm a business developer. So coming from a life science space or a pharmaceutical space. So if I talk in general, the pharma space is very vast. It's huge, and every sector of the pharma is engaged in some sort of business, whether you're making medicines or whether you're trying to get that medicine out into the market, or you're even producing it, doing the clinical trials on animals, humans, whatever. In any form of this activities, business development is used. So my role as a business developer is basically like I work for contract research organizations or contract development organizations who are basically kind of like vendors, helping different types of pharma, biotech, universities who are trying in this our world basically to get the medicine from the labs to the people, and just change lives. And I'm a very small part of that, where these vendors basically help these huge conglomerates get the medicines into the market. And that's why I have founded my own consultancy as Avenza Life Sciences. So what it does is basically helps these contract research organizations to find their business or develop their business in the European market, where there are a lot of startups, there are a lot of small pharmas, big pharmas budding right now in Europe, who are doing a lot of different type of research. So that's basically will help them.
Nice. Um, can I ask what would most surprise a normal person about how your industry works today?
Well, I think the most surprising part will be like for any person who just, you or me, we can just go to a pharmacy or a apteka in Poland and just, buy for, like, just ask them to give us a painkiller or, give us a cough syrup. But the whole timeline for that painkiller or any kind of medicine to even hit the market is from 8 to 12 years. So it's a long journey for from a very small molecule till it gets to the hands of the people, which I was also not aware of when I started. So it's a huge journey. So a lot of people, I think, will be shocked to know that it takes so much time. So it's, yeah, long.
So it takes from the development of a medicine to getting it into customers' hands nearly 12 years.
Discovery. So from the discovery till the development, till the manufacturing and the production. So the whole part takes around 8 to 10, 12 years, depending on what type of a medicine it is. As I said, nowadays there are different types of diseases. So it can be a autoimmune disease. It can be a brain disease like a CNS disease. We are still finding a lot of medication for Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, where we still cannot cure it purely. So all this medicines takes a lot of time at the very early stage itself, at the discovery stage itself. So sometimes even at that stage it kind of takes like 5 6 years, and then obviously moving forward it'll take more. So I think it depends on the complexity and the nature of the drug that you're trying to discover and develop.
Nice. Oh, just I'm not trying to be skeptical here, but uh, also I'm not trying to give off any conspiracy vibes. But remember COVID,
Yes, yes.
and I don't think it took us 8 years to get a vaccination for that.
Well, I'll be very honest with you. First of all, since you mentioned conspiracy, there has been a lot of conspiracy around COVID that there was an antidote already before, the virus was man-made and it was sent out. But again, when it comes to vaccines, it's a little bit different. So what you do basically in a vaccine, if you're aware, you actually just take the dead virus or bacteria and then put that again into the human system. So basically, that's the reason why it didn't take that much time. So what they did was just took the COVID virus and they put dead virus, obviously, and then they just put it again back into the system to basically build in the immune system. So, so which is why vaccines usually don't take that much of time. But when there are like rare diseases, that might take or more years.
Okay, okay, and then there's no so there's something called as preventive medications, and then you have prescriptive medications, right? So
Exactly.
is
Yeah.
that the same lifespan for both of them, or do they differ?
It depends again. So for the OTC drugs or over the counter drugs, you do not require a prescription, and these are basically the normal drugs like like a cold, cough, flu, normal flu. You have a sty in your eye or you have pain on your back. These medications usually happens on the surface level, or it's usually taking place in your gut or your intestine. So which is why the span is not that longer, because it's very easy for a medicine to reach, like let's say you're taking a oral pill, so you just basically digest it within your stomach with the stomach fluid and everything, so it's easier. But the moment it goes to the CNS, or let's say to any kind of autoimmune disease, where you have to trigger a particular protein or a particular, like for example in CNS, there is a barrier in between the brain and our normal bodily fluid, and it's called the blood brain barrier. So for any drug, the chances for it to cross that barrier is very low, so it's not easy. So at the discovery stage, just for the product or the API to just even cross that barrier, to make that work, it takes like 3 to 4 years. So which is why these drugs are always prescribed. These are not over the counters, and obviously these have a lot of side effects if they are taken by OTC, and sometimes if they are taken in different doses which was not prescribed to them, then it basically turns into substance abuse. So you will be in a different universe altogether.
Uh, but isn't substance abuse mostly towards opioids, or does it happen for, let's say, Dolo or something like that as well?
Anything which is more than because our body has a maximum dose tolerance rate for any kind of drug. So if you kind of cross, any person who kind of crosses that barrier, is substance abuse, because could be fatal in the long run. So which is why every drug is pre-tested again and again. The FDA kind of approves the dosage that it should be taken on. So yes, even if you take crocin or paracetamol like on a daily basis, like for a long amount of time, or maybe 6 7 at once, if you crush it and take it, then yes, it's not good for your health.
Noted.
Yeah, yeah. In so I recent memes were like if there is any issue, just take Dolo 650.
Yeah, which is not good. It's a painkiller, guys. You have to understand at the end of the day, it's a painkiller. And if you do not have any kind of a pain, or maybe just a random, I don't know, you walked for 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer, and you feel and pain and you're eating it, doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work like that.
It's not
Okay,
safe.
so can you walk us through the entire landscape, like step one, step two, step three? What happens in the drug, like
Whole
from
process.
discovery to the pharmacy?
Yes, sure. So, okay. So, as you mentioned, I have to make this very simple for you guys. So, the very first stage is called the discovery stage, and it's called finding the idea. So, basically, what they do is like scientists identify a disease target. It can be anything as per the disease that you have. It could be respiratory, autoimmune, CNS, anything, oncology. And then you screen thousands of compounds to find a potential drug candidate that would work. Now, when I say screen thousands of compounds, which is already there in the market. So there for sure there for any kind of disease, there are already a list of medicines or active compounds that are already in the market. So you find a disease target and then you screen them against this, and then you kind of hope that you find a potential drug candidate that could work. And so this screening can be from 1 million to 2 million compounds at once. And again, you guys said we are not talking about AI, but I would say this is where we need AI. And this is where actually AI comes in. So it's very easy these days with all the computational programs and computational methods. There are like automatically run programs where they have the compounds already listed in the program, and you just take your structure that you have designed and you just run it through that program with all the parameters that you want, and it basically gives you a score at the end of the like how many of that compounds, let's say, are a hit. So in the pharmaceutical discovery phase, there are different types of. When you're saying a hit, it's not a drug. It's just a potential, like a maybe kind of a scenario like, okay, maybe this happens. So that kind of hit can be 5,000. Then this 5,000 hits can get converted. Then you screen them again with a lower amount of parameters. And then it got selected more. So now it turns into, let's say, 40 leads. Now you take the 40 leads and then you optimize it against your business model, like whether it is in the biological system, because up until now it's all computational. So we have to see that whether this can be transformed into a biological system. So whether it can we really synthesize it in the lab. So that's where these 40 leads will get optimized. And then these leads, after 40 of these leads getting optimized, only one or two will come out of it as a lead candidate. So that's the whole discovery phase that happens. Once
So
you that yeah, sorry, go ahead.
so this discovery, everything is happening in a system, in a PC, or is it happening in a lab, or it's just in a PC?
It's all in the computer. So as I said, they have different types of programs right now. It's called ligand based drug design or structure based drug design. It depends on the disease target. If you're designing a structure, then obviously you'll run it accordingly. There are ligands in the human system also, so accordingly you can do that drug design also. So everything is computational at this point.
Okay. So is AI adoption seen in this area, or is it like still entering in this area?
No, it's already there. I think it's well prominent right now these days with more and more models coming up. I think it's gaining a lot of momentum. Actually, a lot of people do want skip the chemistry part where you want to synthesize it in lab and just get the final structure and then bam, could put it in the biological system. So that's the AI that the market is going for. So I think it's
Any
still.
any prominent companies that are working in this AI field that you know of? Any like models with prominent?
So in Poland, the biggest one is called Ardigen. It's a company which only works on taking care of different types of disease targets and designing the models. And according like that, there are more others also. But yeah, this is one of the prominent ones.
Okay, that's nice. That's nice to know that AI is like helping in the discovery. This will help a lot of fastening up the process, right? Discovery is the, I think, one of the major steps.
Yes, because previously it used to like previously we used to pay like I think that lifespan has gone a little bit shorter because of this. Because everything was only happening in the lab before. All the screening was happening in lab, and which took a lot of time at that time. The moment AI stepped in, I think that lifespan kind of crunched more. So I think, yeah, now we can do it in 6 months or 1 year instead of taking 3 4 years just to find out the lead candidate.
So much for not talking about AI.
Yes.
I you mentioned uh, uh, side effects in between. And I wanted to know, so when you are discovering a drug and you find out that it has some sort of steroids, it can be completely like extremely negative or maybe even slightly negative. But at the end of the day, side effects are very rarely positive. Like, for example, Ozempic side effect is, you know, you're losing weight, which is great. One of the side effects, I'm not going to say all.
Yes. Well, I think there are a lot of drugs like that where, the drugs get produced and then you think that the side effects are very low. And then by the time it hits the market, like different, because I- I'll talk about it more in a while. But the thing is that during the clinical trials, you're basically sometimes hitting a general type of a population. So sometimes it happens that all the people in the population are not having that kind of side effects. It's a Whereas we are talking about 200, 300 people and the world is like
What's
many.
the threshold for that? Like in a clinical trial, if let's say 20% of them have adverse side effects, then is the drug scraped off?
Yes. So, in any type of clinical trials, if obviously each and every drug has its own rules, it's ICH guidelines, the FDA guidelines that they have to follow. And if the drug is crossing the threshold of any kind of percentage of adversities of side effects or whatever, they're not approved by FDA at all. So maybe during the clinical trials the side effects were very little, that's why they didn't pop up at that time. But sometimes it happens that it goes into the market and then suddenly someone has huge hair loss, or someone just has a lot of hair growth, and people do, and that there's a term for it, so it's called drug repurposing. So what they do is basically once they find out the side effects and they think that okay, this side effect can be used in a different way, as you said, like Ozempic was basically for GLP-1 indicators, it was not for weight loss, but then when you saw the side effects, you kind of repurposed it and put it in the market as a fat loss or weight loss drug. So that's how Viagra got, came into the market the same way. It was a side effect, by the way, and that's the first drug where the side effect was used as a repurposed drug. So
Even the minoxidil, which is used for hair growth, is also, it's a blood. It triggers the blood, right? So
populations, yes. So
yeah.
which is why it kind of improves your hair growth.
And then you told about FDA and I think some other authorities as well in between. Uh, so when you look at the pharmaceutical market, it's a global market, and each and every country has its own thresholds and rules and regulations around it. How do you navigate, especially from a BD domain? Because I'm sure you're not just selling in EU, right? You might be selling in the UK, which might have different guidelines. You might be selling in the US, which is even more regulatory because of the FDA, and India as well has a separate category for that. So how do you navigate these things?
So what you do is like, so what the contract research organizations do basically. So they are vendors, yes. So if they are doing any global business or if they're doing any kind of end-to-end business, so what they do is they already call for these bodies to come and attest them, or kind of inspections or whatever it is, audits. So they have the certificates directly from FDA or EMEA or ICHRA, like whichever body that they usually work with. So all the Indian contract research organizations that I know of who are already in the global stage, they already have this audit done. They have the certificates and they keep renewing it, because our our work line is such that without the FDA certification or the approval, you cannot perform these kind of experiments at all. So that is why this any kind of pitching, like me being a BD, if I'm ever going to the client and I'm pitching about other services, I always mention that these are the certifications that the company already has, and we are authorized to work on GMP or GLP standards, so which is governed by the FDA.
Right. Okay. Okay. So we'll go back to step two, right?
Yes. Yes, so little detour. So once this discovery phase is finished, like you finally have your idea, you have that structure in hand, the lead candidate, and that's when you go to the preclinical research, which is basically testing in the lab and animals. And that is when this selected candidate is tested basically on different both in vitro and in vivo. So when I say in vitro is basically on a cell line. So you are testing it across different types of assays. It and different types of cell lines. So it can be human, it can be hamster, mice. Like there are a lot of variations. So again, it depends on the disease and the target area. So let's say, for example, the disease target is on the lungs. It's a respiratory. So obviously, you will be testing or screening all your assays as per the lungs, as per the blood vessels in the biological system, but in a in vitro settings. Once you get those test results and then you feel like, oh, okay, this looks promising, the cells can integrate into our body, it can penetrate our tissues or blood vessels, or it is still targeting the API is still targeting the disease target, then it's all fine. And then you move forward to the in vivo. When I'm saying in vivo, it can be in rodents and non-rodents as per FDA. So for rodents, it will be mice, rats, hamsters, rabbits, guinea pigs. So these are the any type of animal that you can choose from. When it comes to non-rodents, basically cows, monkeys, dogs, mini pigs, the small ones, and camels. So these are the five types that you can use. Now, whenever there is a small topical drug used for cold or something like that, usually people just go with the smaller species. They don't go for the higher species. But the more complex the disease and more close, the animal is to the human, then it goes to the higher species. So let's say, obviously, if you're looking for something for oncology or for a brain, then unfortunately, the monkeys are the closest primates that are to humans. So, which is why the trials are majorly, focused on them. So that's when the preclinical research happens. So this happens in the lab and the animals.
So during the preclinical stage, what's the usual success rate on any given drug or something?
So I think the success rate depends very much on the barriers. Like let's
Mhm.
say if on the in vitro side or the in vivo side, if the API at least reaches the drug target and like shows some kind of interaction, I think that's a type of a success already,
Mhm.
because this is just the starting, and then the more it's going to happen later on when the drug is processed and more further steps. So at this point, I think they just see if the drug is acting in with the target that we have in mind.
Mhm. And how is the legal process in this stage? Like, are the organizations like FDA, they are very easy to get some uh, certifications or something, an approval from them, or is it
Uh,
like very
so
hard to get?
at the moment you decide to have a contract research organization or a pharmaceutical or biotech or whatever, all your labs, all your equipments, all your experiments should be ongoing as per the FDA guidelines. And these are the guidelines, or these are the whole setup basically. So actually when I say about this guideline is basically how the lab is set up. So from each and every equipment that's there, from the biosafety labs with the hoods and everything, they have a particular way. How many people will be working in one hood? What are the safety equipments that you need? So even before you start your business, this needs to be certified. So that's the initial step. Now there are phases when the FDA gets involved. So once you have that chemical entity ready, so this we didn't even you know uh put went there go there yet. It's like very initial stage. So once the preclinical research is done, so basically you will be filing an IND. So it's like a new drug investigational drug application, that oh hey, to the FDA or any kind of a regulatory body, like, hey, I have a new drug, I found this, and I think it's very potential, and here's my application, and these are the tests I run, and these are the results, and blah, 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 blah. And then you submit the application. And then you'll have that meeting with the FDA or your governing body in your country. And then they will be telling you, like, okay, fine, this looks nice. By the way, these are not easy meetings. Not everyone gets approved. So a lot of time it happens in the very initial stage itself, the project gets closed. They are not approved anymore after spending millions. But yeah, uh, then once this gets approved, the IND thing gets approved. So that means you at least have like a formulation, or like not like a structure or molecule, something in hand, like a chemical entity basically, which is new, which is not patented yet, in your hand. And then you can proceed to the second phase of your process. Now this phase is called the process development and validation. So basically, now you have that structure, molecule, entity, and now you have to optimize it to a like a scalable volume. So until now, basically, you were using it in vitro, or you were using it in animal. But obviously, when you're using it in a human being or whatever, so you might be thinking of a application. Yes, so whether it will be oral, whether it will be an injection, whether it will be like a IV, whether different types, surface, topical, creams, whatever. So now you have to basically optimize that process. So you have to take that chemical entity and then basically do the pre-formulation part, make it into a formulation where basically it can be dosed accordingly to the patient. Once this is done, the development and validation part is done, then the toxicity is tested. So there, that's where the toxicity testing happens. The safety assessment happens. Again, the FD or FDA gets involved, and that's when you basically run a full test of toxicity. Again, this also happens in both animals, rodent and non-rodent. So not only the preclinical part where you're only checking the pharmacokinetics, pharmacodynamics part, like whether the drug is working inside your body, but after the preclinical part, you will also test it in the animals to see if the toxicity is working in the animals. So the main pre-formulation of the drug that you have in hand. So once you test the toxicity, you will again go back to the FDA and tell them, like, hey, hi, this is all my toxicity levels, and they will decide whether the toxicity level, like, you know crosses the threshold, or if it's okay, are the side effects normal. So usually few drugs have a few side effects that are very normal, like for example, if you just pick up a contraceptive pill or whatever, the list of side effects are so many, that it's very common for them. So there is different types of drugs already in the market with the side effects, so they're well aware. They only look for any side effects which is very different from the regular ones and has a very high dose. And if it's not possible, then they kind of cancel that uh, project altogether. So now, until now, this is done. So we are done with the first phase of the process, which is basically the discovery and the preclinical, as we say it. Now the company is happy that we have finished our first phase. We are done with the discovery. Now we are jumping into the commercial part. At this point, a lot of companies, so just to let you know, this discovery part, sometimes in the pharma world, it's basically taken care by the universities, the startups, the early biotechs. And a lot of people after that are so scared, they don't want to, fledge it out anymore. So what they do is they take the entity and they sell it off to any big pharma or anyone. They license it out, saying that, okay, now you do the development and manufacturing part, because development costs in billions to, like, do the manufacturing and development. So they're like, okay, we don't have that kind of a funding or a grant. So they license it out and take some equity or some kind of shares from that, for sure. So now we come to the second phase, which is basically the clinical trials. Go for it.
Yeah. So, what's the usual, what's the minimum or like an average number that is like the amount required during this first phase that we say, like, okay, if I have a $1 million, I can do a drug discovery for certain
Yes,
disease.
you can. So let's say if you have like between 1 to 1.5 million, I think it's easily doable. Like any,
Doable.
yeah. And it will be mostly 18 to 22, 24 months whole process for discovery nowadays, and it's doable for one. But again, the problem is that sometimes in between you have to take care, you have to consider the FDA applications, the IND applications. You also have to take into consideration the if you're working with two or three vendors, so that also happens, a lot of delays in that. The legal takes a lot of time, so which basically delays the process a little bit, and by the time it gets over, it's
I even
Again,
go ahead, Ashwin.
I mean, again, not that controversial as my previous questions, but
just too controversy. Okay.
that's fine. So,
Yeah.
who decides what's a normal side effect and what's not a normal side effect?
Oh, well, I think it's very so. If you're having, like, let's say a little bit of nausea,
Okay.
okay, so, or a little bit of headache, or like a fastened heartbeat rate or heart palpitations. I think these are the few things that fall under normal side effects, and which basically the why it was named as like normal or, like, say, standard side effects is usually because if you take any kind of active ingredient into your body, it's basically kind of disrupting your natural flow. Yes. So which is why for sure there will be some kind of a adverse effect towards it. So it's a very similar way, like, when you take an antibiotic or you take for the viral infection or the viral fever that you have. So it's not that the moment you take it the viral goes away. Yeah, it has an onset of 5 days when it works out and everything. So during that time, even when you're taking the painkiller or the viral this thing antibiotic, there is the pain that comes out of it. So which is why you have bodily pain, you have high fevers, because your immune system is fighting the virus, and the antibiotic is helping uh, it to fight. So, which is why with the antibiotic, the doctors give paracetamol as a painkiller to fight it off again. So, and just fight the side effect, they give another drug to it. So, so there are whenever वो कहते हैं ना, like whenever you mess with nature, something will happen. So you cannot, and I think it's not now. The pharma has been going on for years, centuries, and I think the governing body that sits and decides all these guidelines has seen a lot of drugs coming into the market since last few years. Yeah, so I think they are pretty much smart enough, I guess, to think like what could be the standard.
So we're gonna go with they're smart enough. Don't worry about it.
No, obviously, when
I'm joking. I understood what you're trying to say. Yes, it's,
yeah, yeah, but then also for sure there are people like you, or in general, let's say the common people, like during COVID, a lot of people stood up and said, like, we don't want to take vaccines. So I think at the end of the day, you have the freedom to access or it or not.
of course, you can be for it or against it, and you get to do that.
Yes.
Yeah. No politics, okay? We decided day one, no politics, so I'm gonna refrain from that. I'll be devil's advocate now and then, but yeah, no.
No, that's good because you're also curious basically how it works. So I think
Over me being curious, I really want people who are listening to it to understand what's happening behind the scenes, and I also want to learn about it. That was the whole point of starting this episodes, podcast episodes, since day one, and I hope we're achieving it in a way or two. Yeah, please go ahead with the rest of the phases. I'm very really curious to hear and ask more questions.
yeah, sure. Okay, so now that we are done with the first initial phase, so now we are basically entering the clinical trials, which is, as everyone knows, I think, is the testing in humans. So there are three phases to this trial. Again, I think I'll try to make it as simple as possible. So in the phase one is basically we test it like, is it safe in humans? So you already did the safety and toxicity test in animals, but now you have to check the toxicity levels in humans. Like, is it safe for humans? So what happens in clinical trials, just to give you like the standard protocol, or what happens is that there is a control group and there is your test group. So I think everyone knows a placebo and everything. Yeah. So there are different types. So the first control group would have your normal population. Let's say we are taking a population of 50 to 100 healthy men, or within the age of this to this. So again, it depends on the drug and the clientele that you're trying to, the population that you're trying to focus. You're taking that and you're giving them your drug, and the other population you're taking that and you're giving them a placebo. They're not basically giving them anything, and then that's how you're comparing, how it works. So that's how the clinical trial works. Then there will be a third group where there will be a mix. Let's say 50% will get the drug and 50% won't get the drug, and how it will work. Then there are combination drugs as well. So let's say one of the drug is given with some other additional API, the other one is given with another API. So that's how the clinical trial process usually works, and that's how you are basically pointing all the data points and, like, charting everything. And this usually happens in different hospitals. So you might have heard that, there is a lot of time in the news comes in, like, this patient was going through this disease. He was given an option of trying out a new program with a drug. So this is how it basically works. So the hospitals have the tie-ups with the pharmaceuticals or different biotechs, and these are the places where they go and do the clinical trials. And also you can voluntarily also sign up for such programs, because they give you money for doing this. So if you are a healthy person and you are in a need of some kind of I don't know, a lot of people do that. You can enroll yourself in this clinical trials and you can get tested. So that's the structure. Now the phase one is basically to test, is it safe in humans. Once that is done, you go to two, which is basically, does it work for the disease. So now you will check. Now, first part you're checking, you're just giving him the medication and you're seeing if he's still alive. The second one you're checking, okay, does it hit the target that you want to? So now you're not taking a control group, like you're not taking a healthy population. Now you're taking the disease population. So let's say you're working in respiratory, so you're taking all the asthmatic patients at that time, 50 to 200 or whatever you're taking as the control group. And then you test it on that and see if it works. Then the third phase is that, is it better than the existing treatment? So the last one is the comparison. So what you're going to do is you're going to take two separate, as I said, combination, two different groups. One you will give your drug and the other one you will give the drug that's already in the market, and then you will compare it. So after you're done with all these phases, you'll take the results and then you will go basically to the FDA and you will say, like, see, the drug is safe, it works on the disease target, and why we want to put it in the market, because this is like, better than this treatment. To be honest, most of the drugs that are already in the market, the difference between them would be like one or two lines, basically, or points, let's say, like, okay, this is this person better. But since how do you say, like, different countries need different types of medicines and different types of brands, because the pricing is different with all of them. So the FDA, if it's okay, if it's not an issue, it just approves it. It does not stops it, because at the end of the day it's a lot of money. So they uh, kill it. So this is where the second phase of the process stops, the clinical trial, so clinical research.
Okay. Okay. So that's the difference between Pandol and Dolo. So they do the same thing, but not really the same thing, is it? Okay. Fair. That was very well explained. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. But how easy is to get the humans who are involved in this process? Are they like is it like a very well paid job, or is it like
Well,
you go to a country where it is easy to get those people?
yeah, so because I started my career at a clinical trial organization. So what they do is basically, there is a organization somewhere. Let's say, for in my case, my company was based in India, and what they did was they had tie-ups with hospitals with in different countries. So what you're going to do is that, let's say you have a client coming to you asking that we need to run a test for a vaccine, let's say, or a medicine or a drug for malaria. What should be the best target population for that, or the country? India, South Africa.
Okay.
You know that these kind of drugs are already there, these kind of patients are already there. So they will come to this vendor and they will tell that I need 100 to 130 or 150 patients to run this program. Find me the hospital or whatever. So now this organization will go to its tie-up hospitals or organization, research organization, and they will ask them, like, are you willing to run such kind of a trial with us or whatever? And they will have a discussion and everything. And if they have that kind of patient pool coming in, so then they will say yes and go ahead and basically launch this out in the country, that we are trying to have this kind of a trial. Would you like to come and join us? And there is obviously a paid fee for that. So it depends from country to country how much the patient will get. And obviously they will sign also like a consent form and everything, that no burden, no nothing, no one made them do this, it's your own with sense of mind that you have done this. And that's how the whole setup is made. Now this organization, obviously you cannot just let the hospital do it and then leave it. Yes, so basically there are directors or site inspectors, as we call them. So what they do, this is done by in from the vendor side and also from the client side. So what they do is, like, they do a like a regularly they go onto these sites and they check the charts, they check the patients, they do the inspection and everything. They have those 24/7 cameras going on, like everything is in a live form. It's in a ELN notebook, everything, so it's everything is live, and that's how the testing happens. So it depends on the country that you're targeting the drug at. It's basically for that. So clinical trials cannot just happen anywhere.
So, and then how about the safety of these people involved? Are these vendors or the
That's what you're signing and giving away all the safety, right?
so
Yeah.
so
Signature.
There are a lot of clauses, obviously. There are a lot of clauses. It's not just like, you're signing it and there's nothing out of it. No. So again, it depends on the drug. The more complex the drug gets, I think the value, the money, the time that you spent on the program, everything just increases. So, uh, yeah, a lot of people do it just, for.
I don't know,
is
Yogesh, you have had this ads pop up on your social media. You get all these clinical trial ads where they tell that you come and you can stay with us for 2 months or 3 months, and I will give you food 3 times a day and money on top of it for 3 months, and then you just have to participate in the trial. So it's like 3 months of food and accommodation for you.
I,
Yes.
I I know what to do when AI takes my job now.
I can't do that, can
But then you guys also have to understand, like, there are a lot of people in this world that actually, they do not have any cure, so they're lying like trying the same treatment again and again and again. It's not working. A lot of oncology patients, a lot of, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, so they do not have any other choice. So when the doctor comes and tells them, like, there is this new medication, for them it's like, I already
It's a
tried this. So yeah, why not this one? It's a hope. So for it has a two-way scenario, I guess.
No, speaking of oncology, I think back in 23 or 22, there was this, I don't know if it was fake news or not, but there was this news that Russia had discovered a cure for cancer. I don't know if you remember about it.
I remember. Yes, they also started giving vaccines, free vaccines to all the citizens for the cancer.
Yeah, well, to be honest, when it comes to cancer, it's again, like in pharma, cancer is also very vast. So it can be any kind of cancer. It can be a tumor, it can be a malignant tumor, it can be a cancer, it can be like a blood cancer, it can be lymphatic cancer, it can be breast cancer. There are different types. So just to go there, going on media and saying that I found the cure for cancer, it just does not sum up. I would say, I think what they meant is like they found a way, because what basically is the major problem that we face in oncology is that we are not able to kill that kind of tumor cells, and it kind of, relapsing. So I think what they wanted to mention at that time is that they found a way to basically uh, lessen this time frame where the tumor will relapse back. So the vaccine is basically to help you fight the cancer in a very early stage if you take it. So then maybe the malignant cancer will not happen anymore. So I think that's what they were going for. But again, it's not that easy. Every body type is different, and it can relapse again from person to person. Also, it depends on which stage you are. The earlier the cancer is diagnosed, I think the higher chances you have to get through it. But yes, it's still not at that place where we can say that, yeah, everyone has a cancer cure for cancer.
In a short way, if we have to say, why are we so delayed in terms of cancer related drugs or something? In a very short way.
In a very short way, I think they're just very stubborn. The cells are very stubborn, uh, because these are the cells. How can it, so um, to give you an example, let's say you have a basket full of fruits, and then one fruit goes bad. Yes. So no matter what you try, how much you try, it's very difficult for you to lessen the process. Like maybe you can delay the process of, letting the other fruits get, spoiled a little bit faster, but at the end it will get spoiled because of that contamination. So it's a very similar way, because the cancer cells are basically there to kill all the surrounding cells around them. And also chemotherapy that you use basically to kill those cells. When you're doing that chemotherapy, you're already targeting the cells around it as well, and you're kind of killing the healthy cells as well. So in this way it's very difficult. And nowadays they also say that if someone has it's still not proven that it's genetical, but let's say like for breast cancer or some kind of a cancer, blood cancer or something like that, if in your family someone had it, then you still have a higher chances of getting that in down the line in 1 or 2 generations, because there might be few amino acids or few of the parts, proteins in your body that kind of trigger that kind of tumor generation in your body as well. So you never know. That's the issue. And it's very hard to kill, because the main issue is that you kill that particular cell and everything around it also gets killed.
I think that's true for a lot of incurable diseases, isn't it? Even for Alzheimer's or dementia, it's very hereditary. Uh,
Yes.
Diabetes, yeah.
So when it's actually, that's why a lot of people are trying to focus more on autoimmune diseases. So if you focus on fixing the genetics itself, maybe in the long run we'll be able to cure this. So nowadays in the market, the trend for autoimmune has gone like really high. um Also, one more thing is that when it comes to cancer, if you go for a blood cancer, if you're already having a blood cancer, how it's very difficult for it to like stop spreading once it starts. So I think that's the complexity of it, and which is why we are still suffering and we are still trying very hard to.
Also the symptoms as well, right? It's not very easily detected. Yeah.
No, no. So it like, for you to find that you have a tumor, you have to go the specific oncology like list of tests that you want to do. So it's not very easily detected, because the symptoms are very common at the very early stage to other diseases rather than in oncology. So yeah.
Yeah, a recent just an anecdote to this. So recently, I think you would have also read about this. On a data scientist engineer from Australia, his dog had a cancer. His dog had cancer, and then he tried all the kind of all the kind of the regular approved stuff which he tried, like all the thousand of solving the cancer, but none of which could solve the dog's issue. So what it did was he went through AI, the Claude, and all the systems that he used, the ecosystem of AIs like Claude, uh, Google AlphaFold, all of this. So basically, he synthesized the DNA of the dog using some lab, and then he gave it to AlphaFold to identify what are the proteins that would work with this, and then he gave it to a vaccine manufacturing lab, and then the lab manufactured a specific targeted vaccine for this, and then that reduced the tumor cells in the dog, like over certain weeks or something, and it became a very big news. Like a data scientist, data engineer who doesn't have any medical knowledge just used few AI platforms to fix his dog's cancer. If he can do it, what does this large scale industry that we have can can do?
Well, I think there are two aspects to it. As you say, reduction of the cancer cells is, I think it's still ongoing. Like a lot of companies, a lot of products are still out there that it can help you reduce the cancer cells. I think what we're fighting for is to get a pure cure, basically, that once you get a vaccine or whatever, you won't get it. So the problem with cancer is the relapse. that we are facing again and again. So let's say you did get cured in year 1, but it's no guarantee like after year 3 or year 4 it will come back again. So that is the current issue that we are facing. So there has been a lot of news and already that we have a cure for this part, all good. And again, this is the first aspect, the relapse. The second aspect is again depending on the stage. So as soon as the cancer, so I think you might have already heard that there are a lot of people who are fighting cancer and they have recovered also from that cancer. But I think again that also depends on the stage, like which stage they are. So if they were detected in the stage 1, stage 2, or the very late stage, so that affects the treatment a lot. So I think that's where we are lacking. And your second question, that what the big pharmas are doing, I think I will also tell something controversial now, uh, because um, I think my thought process would be like, maybe there is a way, like a faster way. But then if you look at the market, pharma business itself around oncology, I think it's beneficial for the pharmaceutical big giants to delay the process rather than give the cure out already. Because even now, any cancer patient, like for them the treatment is very expensive. So who does this benefit? I think it's only the business, pharma business itself, and no one else. So I think that's a little bit controversial take from my end, thinking that this can be one reason also. But now, with all the cure coming up, you're correctly mentioned. I think the oncology part is slowly going down. So maybe in the few years, I'm waiting and hoping that there's gonna be a very soon. There's gonna be a cure for oncology in general.
Oncology.
Yeah,
That's good. Okay, so next we have like the phase three of
the last. Yep.
the last phase. Yeah.
The last phase, finally we have reached there. The last phase is very simple. It starts with the regulatory approval. So now you already did your clinical trials, you're done with everything, and now you basically go to your regulatory body, and then you file the application, say with the authorities, whether it's EMI, FDA, whatever, to get the approval to sell the drug. Because for that also you need a approval, that okay, I have this data, please check it and approve it to sell. Once they approve it, you move to the last phase, which is called the manufacturing and the launch or the production. So once this is done, you go find a contract development manufacturing organization, or any kind, if you yourself have the facility being a big pharma, you just go and basically upscale the whole thing. So you had, like, let's say you had 50 grams or 100 grams of the drug just to be used in the clinical trial. Now you're basically upscaling it and manufacturing it in tablets and gels, whatever forms, in like metric ton scale. And then production is basically packaging and all that, and then basically selling it out to your distributors or whatever. Then that's when all the medical people come in, the doctors, a lot of medical salesmen from the pharmas. They go door to door, each and every hospital, meet every doctors, give them the medicines and tell them to prescribe this to your patients, this that, test it out. And that's how it all happens, and it's in your market finally.
So in this phase three, is it a lot of just the manufacturing process, or is it also like in every stage of manufacturing again the FDA will come into picture? Or
No, no. So I think that's the first part. The regulatory part is done at the beginning of the manufacturing. And once the first batch is, so what happens is, let's say the first, you have batch releases, yeah. So let's say in the first batch there are, for example, there are 5,000 sheets of drugs that went out. So you have to wait until a time period where the general or population or whatever is going to act and react on the drug. And once that is done, basically they get a feedback that, okay, fine, this is done, this is all good. And then they basically sell the other one also.
Mhm. So, which are the phases that you coming to picture? Like there is phase one, phase two, phase three. You as a you know you as running the consultancy services, like what are the phases you are involved in? Like how are you like helping in in these phases?
So I am helping in the whole process. Thankfully, I have been in the industry for all this year, and I have the opportunity to sell each and every phase. So whether it's a discovery phase, whether it's a normal process development phase, or it's a clinical research, or whether it's a manufacturing phase, I have been in the industry and sold all this on a regular basis to my clients. So which is why in my consultancy, I basically help all these CROs. Let's say there is a contract research organization that sells only discovery services, but they are based in Australia, or they are based in US or Thailand or China or India, and they do not have any EU presence. They do not have like a company or a office in Europe, basically. And they usually these days is very useful when you have someone on the field to go talk to your client. So that's when I become basically the face of the organization, and then I, as a consultant, as a representative of that organization, of that vendor, I go and talk to the clients, firms being the big farmers, the mid-sized pharma, the biotechs, the universities, and try to sell discovery services to them. And likewise with the all the other phases and all the services as well, whichever company specializes in whichever part of the process, I can help them in developing their business in Europe.
So you're in between, two worlds, right? You're in between science and business,
Exactly.
and both of them are mostly male dominated, correct?
Yes.
And to be fair, you are the first female guest on our podcast, so that's a win for us.
Thank you.
But yeah, mostly male dominated fields. How do you navigate this, and how do you go through the ins and outs of these two areas on a day to day basis?
Well, I'll be very honest. It's not that easy being a woman, and to be honest, also it's not that easy to be in a panel with very experienced male presence when they see you just as a woman just starting in the industry and very younger to you to to handle things in a certain way. But what I have learned is that I cannot change the society at once. So I have my own boundaries, but then I also kind of adapt to the situation and to the environment in general, I would say. So I have a way of getting my things across to my clients, and I hope if there is a client who likes to talk about it a little bit more, I'm very patient and I will be very happy to listen to him. But then yes, I think being a woman in this field is very difficult, majorly I think in the pharma. I'll tell you a very I think being a woman, it hurts me a lot because a lot of times there are still not a lot of organizations which very focus women focus medicines or drugs in the market. The drugs are majorly male focused. There are not a lot of drugs, for periods, for menstrual cycles, for endometriosis, like a lot of women issues. Because no one in the industry wants to invest in those kind of medicine because that does not bring revenue. So when you're working in an environment like this, I think you just have to go out there and stand, head high and just put your put your voice, and you're like, yes, I think this is how I want it to done, get it done, and you have to listen to it. So yeah, that's the approach.
Wonderful. And more than that, you're also an entrepreneur. So how's that journey going for you?
Well, I am really amazed because when you're always starting, you're always feeling dicey and you're feeling, oh my, is this gonna work out? Is this not gonna work out? But I'm really amazed that how there is so much traction that's already gaining. The momentum is going on. There are a lot of companies actually, because these days in the market hiring a BD can be expensive. They're a little bit expensive. So when it comes to consultancy, I think the my clients and the organization get a chance to test it out first, test the waters, like will it work in Europe, will it not work in Europe, and then put their money on the person, like okay fine, yes, I think we need a person who needs to stay there full time. So I think this really works, and I'm so happy that I started it no later than now.
What's your advice to anyone who's starting their careers, be it at the technical level in this field, or be it at the business level like you? What kind of suggestions or advice do you give them?
Well, I think from my career, the one advice that comes from me would be like, just don't plan anything. Don't be too predictable and strict and stringent about it. I started my career in, like, studying pharmacy and biotech. And suddenly I went into business, which was so unpredictable. And this happened during the COVID time. Like, I had no idea what was business development or whether there was this kind of a field. But then I gave it a shot. I didn't think, like, okay, I just want to sit and do the scientific work. I gave it a shot. I went in. It worked for me. Now, again, I think I gave another shot and I took a risk and say like, okay fine, if not now, then in the long run, when will I do this? So I think the advice would be, there is no particular age to do anything. Just go for it whenever you feel confident, whenever you feel like, okay, or maybe, I don't know, you lost your job or something like that. It can be a miracle that that one downfall can be your way to find build something new. So I think just go out there and I think do things and it'll be fine.
All right. So just to close things off, if you could, change one thing about the whole pharma industry tomorrow, what would it be?
More transparency for sure. A lot of conflict happens between the scientist and the vendors and everything. There is the level of transparency is very important. The relationships that are built are very important, because at the end of the day, whether it's the vendors or whether it's the pharma, a lot of money goes into it, lot of hard work goes into it. So if someone takes that one step and be gets transparent about the whole thing and tells like, okay, we are facing this issue, I think in the long run, then the time span of get the drug getting into the market will be much earlier than it's already is. So I think fast timelines if you're transparent. Yeah.
Okay. Nice one, nice one. Thanks a lot, Anwesha, for joining us today. It was a really good talking to you. It was a pleasure hosting you. And thank you, Yogesh, for introducing us.
Yes. So yeah,
Yeah, either you guys come to Poland or sorry, you guys come to UK or I'll come to Poland. We should definitely.
Oh, you should definitely come to Poland. Next time when I'm in UK, for sure, I'll try and visit you also and meet you in person, because that would be great. And
Yeah.
thank you so much, guys, for having me. Also, it's really nice to talk about my field, what I do in general in life. So thank you so much.
no, yeah, thanks to you, because we right now know, okay, where is my pill coming from? How long does it take to get my pill, right?
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Anwesha. Thank you, Ashwin.
Thank you.